This is Doug from Ecstatic Vision, Black Marks, and Author and Punisher, and you're listening to The New Scene.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The New Scene. I'm your host, Keith, and we're back with another brand new episode. And on the show this week, we have Michael Gira of Swans. The highly influential band Swans, led by Michael Gira, has a new LP coming out this week, and it's called Birthing. And I spoke to Michael about the new LP, the current configuration of the Swans live show that's going to be out on tour soon, a little bit about his past and his upbringing, and where Swans are headed in the future. That conversation is coming up shortly, but first, here's how you can support The New Scene. Rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a main channel with full video episodes and a clips channel with clips from select episodes. We have shirts for sale at our store at Deathwish Inc. Pick one up. It's a great way to support the show. And you can follow us on social media at New Scene Pod. And here's some updates from Iodine Recordings. The debut EP from Love Letter has just been reissued by Iodine Recordings. The record features refreshed packaging, including hand-numbered Obi strips. It's in stock and shipping right now. Drought just released an Invitation. That's another new single from their forthcoming LP, Souvenir. The song is out now and streaming everywhere. The Dogs of Hope, a benefit for shelter animals, is a new compilation that's up now for pre-order. It features new or previously unreleased music from Killswitch Engage, Dead Guy, Snapcase, Orange 9mm, Walter Schreifels, and more. The pre-order for the LP is up now at the Iodine store at deathwishinc.com, and there's a shirt to go along with it as well. There's also new Love Letter merch up for sale right now. Be sure to check out their store at deathwishinc.com. For more information, head to iodinerecordings.com, sign up for the newsletter, and you can follow the label on Instagram at Iodine Recordings. And don't forget to support our sponsor for the month of May, Mind Over Matter Records. Mind Over Matter Records is an independent record label founded by Austin Keane in 2009, and it's home to releases from a ton of bands you know and love: Zayo, The Juliana Theory, Evergreen Terrace, and more. Post-hardcore band Mission to Sleep have just released their LP, A Spark or the End. Make sure you check out the record on streaming services, and you can order the LP now at mindovermatterrecords.com. A second pressing of the new self-titled record from Oriska just went up in 2 new colors. You can order direct from mindovermatterrecords.com, deathwishinc.com, and if you're in Europe, Deathwish Europe and Devil Dog Distro have the record in their stores. And my band, Memory Entry, just released our debut EP called Our World Is Going to Disappear. The Iodine variant of the record is sold out, but there's still a couple left at mindovermatterrecords.com. Make sure you grab one while supplies last. I think there is less than 10 left. We also have 2 new t-shirts to go along with the EP. And there's a lot of other great music to check out at Mind Over Matter Records. Her Head's on Fire, Dad Hats, Shady Side, and tons more. For more information, head to mindovermatterrecords.com, and you can follow the label on Instagram at MOM Records. Okay, so check back in with me in segment 3. We'll do a wrap-up of the conversation with Michael Gira. I'll tell you everything that's going on with me. I saw the headlining Anxious tour at Bowery Ballroom recently. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about everything. But right now, we are going to speak to Michael Gira of Swans. Enjoy. All right, we are here now with Michael Gira. Michael, welcome to the show.
Howdy.
It's great to have you here, Michael. You know, you've done a lot over the years. Swans certainly has an excellent legacy, and we've got a new LP called Birthing coming out on May 30th, which myself and many others are looking forward to, and we're going to talk about all that, Michael. But first, I want to ask you, how are you doing today?
I have no idea, but thank you for asking.
Why is that? Are we feeling good? Are we feeling bad? Or is that just a regular everyday thing?
No, I'm just a little turtle dove floating through the sky.
I like that. Where are you living these days?
Somewhere.
Somewhere. How about this? East Coast or
Yeah.
West Coast?
No coast.
No coast. All right, all right. Do you like where you live?
Sure, it's fine.
All right. How long have
Thank
you
you for
been there?
asking. I don't know, 5 years, I think. Somewhere in Nowheresville.
I got you. I got you. I imagine you as like a quiet lifestyle kind of guy, not a city right now. You have some isolation, you have some peace, you can do what you want to do. Am I on track there?
Sure.
All right. All right. So you grew up in Los Angeles. Now I was reading about your upbringing. When you were young, you ended up moving to Germany with your father. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And you ended up running away and hitchhiking across Europe. Now, what kind of kid were you? Were you adventurous? Did you just do what you wanted to do? Did you have any fear? Like, what was going on with you at that time?
Uh, I started taking drugs when I was 12. The hallucinogens, barbiturates, uh, speed, you name it. So my childhood was kind of erased by that. And I suppose as far as the hitchhiking across Europe, I was too stupid to be scared.
Yeah, that makes sense. I got involved with that stuff at a young age too, and it does make you fearless and adventurous on one hand, but I guess I had a lot of fear as well. So I mean, yeah, so you just it sounds like you had to grow up pretty early.
Yes, I didn't really have a childhood. Very early on, I did, I suppose. But by the time I was 12, I was on my own, basically.
How about your relationship with music? Something you've always been interested in?
Well, not in making it. Uh, I always thought that my vocation would be in art. However, around the time of the punk rock movement, I just decided that that made much more urgent sense in the world. And so I threw myself into that in about 1978, actually.
What kind of art did you want to do?
Well, I drew constantly when I was young, and I, of course, didn't really have a clear picture of which trajectory I would take. But the art that was interested me at the time, I suppose, was the contemporaneous art, which would have been performance art and minimalism, various threads that were traveling through the atmosphere at the time. But I wasn't really clear enough what I wanted to do. But like I say, when punk happened, it just seemed much more relevant to me, and I just gravitated towards music in a very primitive way at first, and that's what happened.
Was there a particular band or show or something you saw that made you really decide you wanted to do it? Because that's the same thing that happened to me. I saw friends of mine my age playing these very intense, very crazy shows. I was hooked from the first time I saw it and wanted to get involved as soon as I can.
Yeah, I took a the video equipment from my school, Otis Art Institute, and went to uh, what do you call it, like a benefit concert for a club, a punk rock club called. All the LA bands were playing at that benefit, and so I saw. Let me see. It was the Germs, uh, the Bags, X. Let me see. I can't remember now, but I don't think the Screamers played, but it just the whole energy, the chaos of it, really I found to be attractive. And right after that, I started up a sort of glorified fanzine with a friend of mine called No Magazine, and we interviewed all the local bands as well as other luminaries. So we managed an interview with Alan Vega from Suicide and a few other people. So I did that for a while, and then inevitably I got involved and started a band.
You mentioned being on your own since you were 12. What did you have to do? I mean, did you have somewhere to live? Did you have to fend for yourself? Did you have to feed yourself? Like, what was going on?
Well, it's kind of it's kind of personal, but I lived at home with my mother, but she was a tremendous alcoholic and did not take care of me at all. And I hung out with the local hippies and came into some really bad influences, and was just on drugs all the time. And eventually, I was arrested for a large amount of Seconal, which is a barbiturate, and the police told my mother and my aunt and uncle who came to the police station that considering my behavior since I don't know, since 11, even breaking and entering, vandalism, all those kind of things, that unless my father came and got me, that my mother and father were divorced, I would have to go to juvenile hall until I was 18. So he came and got me, and that's how I ended up in Europe.
Your relationship with drugs, did that continue for a while? Did you manage to stop and focus more on music? I'm curious because that's part of my story. I was a mess for a really long time, and eventually I came to a point where I just had to stop altogether to even function. I was going to die. How about you?
Well, I took a lot of methadone later on, and cocaine, of course, but I eventually stopped that. My main go-to stimulant or depressant, depending on how you look at it, was alcohol, and I was involved in that for quite some time. Um, I just want to make sure of one thing, is that you have heard the new album, right, Keith?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just that so much of my past up until, well, I moved to New York, I guess, is kind of sorted, and I don't think about it anymore, and I don't really like talking about it.
That's okay. Let's jump ahead. So we have the new LP from Swans called Birthing. It's coming out May 30th on Young God and Mute Records. I'm excited about it. Everybody's excited about it. And I was reading about the record, and it says it was developed during a year-long Swans tour in 2023 to 2024. So did you actually start writing this while on a Swans tour?
Well, I'll tell you what happens with this group of people, and myself, is that I will come to a rehearsal to begin with a song I have written, and then we will start playing it and hashing it out. And of course, it's on acoustic guitar, so it's generally fairly short and centered around the words and the basic chords that I play. But once these wonderful musicians start performing, it just, with my, I guess, with my direction and to a certain extent, the pieces start growing. And we decide, oh, well, that part could use a intro here. And then before you know it, after 5 or 6 shows, that intro is 15 minutes long. and then and then we think, oh, well, it needs something to happen. It needs something to happen later on, and so we just kind of slowly, through accretion, it just, they grow into these long pieces. It's a sort of slow motion version of improvisation, I suppose, and they just become these long things that we perform, to the extent that on the last tour, our very last show, one version of one of the opening piece was 82 minutes long, and it was quite a workout. But that's how it happens. It happens naturally from us playing together and finding out really what's in the music and where it wants to go, letting it speak to us.
82 minutes long. That is impressive. So, as you're writing this stuff while you're on tour, are you performing the new compositions on the actual tour, or are you saving that for when we're going to
Yeah,
record the album?
I mean, yeah, we're no, we're performing them in front of an audience. They grow in front of an audience.
That's really interesting. I like that approach. Yeah, you seem very focused on the now in terms of the band, like what am I doing now? What am I playing now? What am I recording now? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've read about some of the creative process, improvisation, endless revisions, intensity of focus and performance and endurance and very long practices. What did some of that look like for the creation of Birthing? Was it all written on tour? Do you
Well,
get
all
together
of
later
that.
in all of it?
Like I said, the basic song is written, and then I bring it to the band, and then before we tour, we hash it out and work on it, and it becomes much more of a piece rather than an acoustic based song, of course. And then when we get in front of an audience, things start. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Metastasizing, and they just grow into these beasts that have their own consciousness almost. And we just happen to be there holding the instruments, and the music's playing us. It kind of happens that way.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like you mentioned the 82-minute piece, and some songs can be 10 minutes, 20 minutes, however long. What guides you? How do you know to keep going? How do you know when to stop? I mean, do we all just feel it and we're all in this thing together and just feeling it out?
Well, I'm directing it, but it's just entirely intuitive on what feels authentic and correct and right in the moment.
How about your creative process when entering into a new album in terms of lyrical content and what it's going to be about? What was that for birthing? How did the ideas come to you? What did you pull inspiration from?
Uh, I write from the point of view of various experiences, uh, but I pretty rigorously try to remove myself from them in the sense that they're not about me. Um, I look for something that's kind of objectively compelling, and I don't care about myself in it. I mean, I guess I can look at the particular songs here. There's a list. Yeah, I mean, there's a variety of things think about. I don't really like to talk about the lyrical content too much because I don't want to close off the experience for the listener. But they do come from specific visions or ideas, or sometimes from a book, or maybe from a public figure. Um, there's the song I Am a Tower. That started from this unfortunate sort of erotic dream I had, wherein I imagined Donald Trump in a sexual three-way with Roy Cohn and Richard Nixon. And it's kind of a hideous conjoining of gargoyles. And I pictured Donald Trump. It's him singing in the song. It's his my view of him singing in the song, and that's where that came from. The other ones are just from particular perceptions about things. That's about as deep as I want to go into the lyrical content.
That's interesting. Yeah, I get a lot of stuff in dreams. You know, someone will say something in a dream or something will come to me and I love when I get some inspiration that way the most because it seems so ethereal and otherworldly. Do you get a lot of inspiration or ideas from dreams like that?
Not really. I mean, there's this. I mean, I guess I could get a little more specific. I mean, there's the song "Birthing." Um, I was just driving through the countryside here where I live, and I just suddenly had this intense, what's the word? This intense feeling of the presence of death in life, not in a dark way, but just the sense that everything happening at that moment was incredibly urgent and that it was on the verge of being annihilated at that very same moment. And it made everything I was seeing on this drive and throughout my day just psychedelically real. And so that's where the inspiration for that song came from.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, when I was younger, I used to take various substances because regular life wasn't enough, right? I needed to be on some other level of existence at all times. I needed to feel everything bigger all the time. But now having some distance away from that, I think there's something out there. I don't know what it is, but once you tap into it in a real way, in a natural way, I think it's better and more pure than any drug you can take. And I love when I can tap into that, whatever it is, and push it into creative pursuits and artistic pursuits and music and that kind of stuff. Do you think about that? Do you believe in that at all? Like maybe we're just a vessel or we're pulling from something greater?
Well, when I focus on that question, there's this constant sense, the suspicion that there's something behind the veil that I'm not seeing. And I suppose one way to try to access what's true and what's real is through meditation, and which is a process of removing the chatter in your mind and looking nakedly at the fact of existence. And to me, once you do that, it's like I say, it's incredibly psychedelic, and it's certainly not, the kind of busy work we're involved in our everyday lives.
So did you practice meditation?
Yeah, that's not something I want to talk about, but sure.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's something I think I need to get into at some point because after the pandemic, I got into the bad habit of needing to have some kind of screen on all the time, and I would like to
Yeah,
not
that's
do that at
scary.
some point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously an epidemic. And I'm subject to it as well. But meditation is not about feeling better or something like that, in my view. It's about kind of experiencing truth. So that's its purpose.
So in terms of the tour we have coming up in support of birthing, what's the configuration? Is there anything special that we're doing for this? Is there specific equipment changes or orchestration we're using? Tell us about it.
Well, it's the same group of people who toured last year, with the addition of our long-term guitarist who was on sabbatical recently, Norman Westberg. So I guess it's a seven-piece band. So that's Norman's electric guitar, and he'll also be making loops, of course. And then Christoph Hahn, who plays lap steel guitar and makes loops, lots of loops. And then Dana Schechter, who plays another lap steel guitar and also plays bass on occasion and makes loops. Christopher Pravdika playing bass and who also makes sounds and loops. And then Phil Puleo, who plays drums, hammer dulcimer, and some little bit of keyboards. And then the inimitable Larry Mullins, who plays mellotron and organ and also plays drums with Phil at times as well. I think that in the next tour, Larry's going to bring his vibraphone as well. So it'll be a rather full sound. And as far as the material that we're going to perform, I don't think there will be anything from birthing. In fact, I'm not sure what it's going to be. I've of a mind to make it one kind of long piece that's a sort of elegy and slowly unfolding elegy. We'll see how it goes.
That's interesting. So will you typically have a set list or pieces of songs you're going to pull from, or do you just kind of let it fly, or both? Like, what's your process?
Oh, it's very disciplined, but then it's open ended also live. But we have specific pieces that we perform, of course, but we always want them to remain urgent. And that means not just reciting them or playing them in the same way each night. We're always looking for the kind of hidden secret in the sound. And that's takes a lot of commitment and concentration. And it's improvisation, but it's sort of improvising as a group, really. And I'm the regrettable impresario in the process.
I like that. I like that. It makes me nervous because I'm such a control freak and I'm like, oh, everything has to go perfectly, but I like that because it's dangerous and risky to a degree, but I'm sure some really magical things happen as well.
Yeah, well, that's what it's all about. Is that I mean, implicit in loudly amplified electric instruments is the kind of the hope or the ambition of completely disappearing in the sound while you simultaneously have an intense awareness of it. So yeah, that's the goal. And it seems like the audience receives that as well. So it's pleasing.
Absolutely. I read that for Swans, this will be the final foray into all-consuming sound worlds, that you're going to move to a more pared down version of the band. What will that look like?
I'm not sure yet. It'll look like two or three people at the most on stage, and on record. I'm going to keep it simple. I've sort of reached the end point for this way of working, so I know I have to do something else. So I'm going to, and I'm not sure. I'm writing some songs, but I'm not sure what ultimate shape they're going to take. I have this, long cycle of touring ahead of me, and so I'm concentrating more on that at the moment.
How do you know it's time to move on? Are you just done with this kind of configuration? You're ready to try something else?
Well, yeah, it's just. I mean, I love being in this inside these swirling masses of sound. I love it. I've craved it for decades. But at a certain point, you strangle the goose long enough and it dies. So you gotta do something else.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. I've read that you can be influenced by film soundtracks often. Do I have that accurate?
Oh, I was years ago. I used to think about that. I mean, particular Ennio Morricone, uh, but I haven't thought about that in particular in a long time. Yeah, I mean, we made a record called Soundtracks for the Blind, and that was, what it was about.
If you're influenced by a film soundtrack, how do you translate that to your music? Is it a feeling thing, or do you pull inspiration from what you're listening to?
Um, no, I don't. I mean, there's music along the way that's influenced me, I suppose, but when I'm making my own music, it's its own thing. I don't think about someone else's music. I might have in the early days have thought, is this as good as the Stooges, or does this hold up to Suicide, but I don't think that way anymore. I mean, it's been decades of making my own music, and so it's really that's the reference point.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty liberating to just think about what you're doing and not what anyone else is doing, right? You're just your own independent thing.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, this is my life, and it's ultimately the truest kind of uh, iteration of myself in the world I can make. So it has to be authentic and come from a sort of place of truth. Otherwise, what's the point? I'm not. I'm not interested in when I'm making my own music and what's going on. Otherwise, in the so-called music scene, I don't care at all about that.
Yeah, that's a question I was going to ask you, if you listen to newer stuff or if you're aware of things going on or if you care at all. And it sounds like no.
Every once in a while, I come across something, but don't ask me right now. What's her name? I just heard uh, the newer music from I forget her actual name. What is it? Lingua Ignota. What is it? Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, but I'm going to look it up. Let's see. Lingua.
It's Lingua Ignota. What's her name? I would go to a. Let me look it up here.
Kristen Hader.
Yeah, she did a, a record recently, which I listened to. It's pretty stripped down. It's just her with piano and voice, and I thought it was really really good.
Do you still love music? Are you still happy with the process? Are you still into it?
Uh, I don't know. It's always a struggle with me, and it always has been. So I don't know if happy is the correct term, but once I get in it, it's like wrestling with five sumo wrestlers that are covered in lard.
That's a good comparison. Do you question yourself? Like, do you wonder, am I doing the right thing? Is this what I should be writing? Because sometimes I'll be starting a new album or a new EP or whatever, and I'm like, is this right? Is this what I should be doing? I mean, I question myself. Do you do that at this point in your life with how long you've been doing everything?
Well, not really, but I mean, I don't really have any choice because it's what I do, and I just throw myself into it. But as I said, I'm after this lengthy tour ahead of us. I am going to move on to something else because it would not be genuine to continue in the current mode past that.
Is that scary at all for you? Or are you just ready for the next
No,
thing?
no, I don't give a fuck.
I like your attitude about things. I think I need more of that.
Well, I mean, you have one life, so you can choose what you do with it. But I think I try to make something that has meaning for myself and hopefully other people. And if it does, then I'm very pleased with that.
How about prep for the tour? Will you be together with everybody rehearsing for a long time? I've read about, these epic long rehearsals that you will all do sometimes.
Yeah.
Does that still happen?
Yes. We're going to rehearse for a month, probably 10 hours a day for a month. And that is not to perfect the music. It's more to try to find where the blood is flowing in it and to let it guide us. And that takes some time. Anybody, or not anybody, but most musicians, I could bring the songs I have with the chord structures I have, and they could play along. But that's not what I'm looking for. I want it to go much, much further than that. And that takes just pounding at it. And then suddenly the light switch goes on and you're in a new scene. And that's elating. And that's what we look for.
Yeah, there's something about the people being together in a room and the chemistry and everything that I think is necessary. I've never done it where you record on software and send pieces back to each other and all that stuff. I write in the room with people, and that's my favorite. When something comes out of nowhere and I don't even remember where it came from or how it happened. Again, like, it's just like coming from some other place. And I think that's how the real special stuff happens. So, yeah, I'm with you. That's the way. Just in the room together, pounding it out for as long as we can.
Yeah, that's right.
So, we've got the tour coming up. We've got the new record coming up. We've got the future ahead of us.
I don't know how much of that there is considering the current climate, but yeah, there's always that. Who knows? I could collapse tomorrow. We'll see.
Yeah. Do you pay attention to a lot of what's going on in the world now? I have friends who really watch the news and pay attention to every single thing going on, and they seem really unhappy. I like to be aware, but I'm not checking headlines every day because I don't want to be unhappy, and I don't feel that I personally can make too much of a difference in the oligarchy that we currently live in. What is your viewpoint on that?
I stay informed, but like you, uh, I recognize that I'm largely powerless in it. But I read the papers every day, online, but I read the papers every day.
Are you working on creating stuff constantly, or do you ever take time for you to do stuff that's not music related?
Oh, yeah, there's tons of personal things that go on that I don't really talk about, but it's when I find time, I'm working on my music. Yes.
Yes, you seem very reserved, right?
Well, who gives a fuck about my personal life? I mean, they shouldn't.
Are you like that with everyone?
How do you mean?
Well, all right, let's say you're on tour with a band, right? And you're like talking to a
Mhm.
guy in another band. Will you just talk about whatever, or do you like keep it close still?
Well, I talk within the band about things, but when I'm on tour, I don't do much of anything except perform and then collapse and sleep until the next show. Uh, it's rather exhausting for me at this age, particularly. But the kind of shows we do, which are usually close to 3 hours and of very intense music, doesn't leave much energy for much else.
Yeah, it's really exhausting. What do you do to pass the time during those long trips? Do you read? Do you watch stuff? What do you do?
I read.
That makes sense. You don't strike me as much of a premiere cable series watcher.
I did that for a while, and after, for instance, watching the whole Breaking Bad, I think, and then Better Call Saul, I thought they were incredibly entertaining. But at the end, I thought, wow, what was that? It really didn't amount to anything. It didn't move me in any way. I mean, it wasn't like watching Lars von Trier's Melancholia or something. It didn't have any lasting effect on me. So I stopped doing that, even though those things are very well put together, and the acting and all is great. But it didn't really do much of anything for me in the long run. There's this filmmaker now, what is his name? Robert Eggers,
Yes.
who's tremendous. And I really look forward to seeing Nosferatu soon. I will do that. It's good to see that there's someone who's a true artist making films that reach a large audience at this point.
Yeah, Melancholia. I heard you mention that because I know there's this song named after Kirsten Dunst from that movie. That movie had a real impact on me. It was just, I never forgot that scene where she I think she randomly sleeps with what is it, the sister's husband, because they know the world is going to end. That was yeah, his movies definitely have an effect.
Indeed, Breaking the Waves is incredibly powerful. Yeah, his films are great. And what was that one? I'm sorry, it escapes me. It doesn't matter. It's not worth talking about right now. But yeah, he could be a good filmmaker. I guess he's retiring now because he's ill. But that's too bad.
How about Terrence Malick? Are you a fan?
I've seen 3 or 4 of those. I thought they were good. They're very slow and meditative and very beautiful.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites.
So I appreciate this interview, but I think we've reached our limit here.
And there you have it, Michael Gira. There were a few gems in that conversation and some interesting insight into Michael's process and how he looks at music, how Swans function, the improvisation, the super long practices, everything they're doing. I know Aaron Turner, when he was on the show, said that Swans were an influence, and it sounds like he's doing a similar thing with Sumac, so I wonder if that's a direct connection there. But anyway, there was a great lesson in that conversation to just be yourself, do your own thing, and not worry so much about what other people think. So thank you, Michael, for coming on the show. So let's check in. How are we doing? I am doing okay. Things have not really changed so much around here. Work has been steadily busy. I hope that equates to job security, because I know things are hard out there right now for a ton of people, including myself. So it's just work lately. Work during the day, work on the podcast into the weekend, and then more work the following week. And I'm not complaining exactly. That's just the way things are going right now. The show has been really busy. I've been doing a ton of interviews. We've got a ton of great interviews coming up, return guests, and a lot of new ones as well. By the way, my band Memory Entry is playing a show Monday, July 21st in Brooklyn at the Woodshop. The show is with Signal Hill, who have not played a show since 2016, I think. So this is their first show back since 2016. And I'm really excited to be on this show with them because I had tickets to see Signal Hill back in March of 2020, I think it was, but the pandemic had other plans for us. So Signal Hill is playing. They're one of my all-time favorite bands and definitely one of my favorite post-rock bands. And North End is playing the show as well. They're going to be touring with Signal Hill, and they're an excellent post-rock band out of Philly. So make sure you come to this show if you are in the New York area. It's going to be a good one. You can get advance tickets through Dice. So if you're coming, do that. I was also at Bowery Ballroom last month to catch the first ever headlining Anxious tour with Stateside. When Grady was on the show and told me that this would be their first headlining tour ever, I was surprised. I figured they had done that at some point already, but no. I got there in time to catch some of Stateside. They're a pop-punk emo band out of Southern California, so if you haven't heard them yet, check it out. Their debut LP, Where You Found Me, comes out June 6th on Pure Noise Records. I've heard in advance of it, it's awesome, and their singer, Lemus, is going to be on this show next month, so make sure you check that out. And Anxious headlined. I've seen them twice, but this one was the highlight for me. Incredible set, great response from the crowd, huge energy from the band, just an all-around great time. Got to say hi to Grady for a minute after the show, so all around good times. And I think Bambi is my favorite record of the year so far. What do you think? What's yours? And I've got a couple new Spotify comments here. Let's read those. G had this to say about episode 280 with George Hirsch of Blacklisted. Great listen, George. He is one of the most important lyricists in hardcore. Thank you, G. And No Land Drums had this to say about episode 279 with Austin Keene of Mind Over Matter Records. Shield from Bad Rabbits is an incredible drummer with his brother playing bass. They would play a medley of Michael Jackson songs that is amazing. Even their band before Ire Press is a band I would recommend to listen to. Sol I is a great song to start off. Thank you, No Land Drums. Yeah, I've been meaning to go back and listen to that band because my interest was definitely piqued after Austin and someone else mentioned them to me as well. So I got to go back and do that. And last week I celebrated another year clean and sober. You know, since I got clean, I've managed to do a lot of things that I always wanted to do or thought I just couldn't do anymore. And I'm definitely way happier now and just overall a lot more well-adjusted than I was back when I put all of that behind me. So I'm telling you this just to remind you that if you want to make a change in your life, it is possible. You're never too old. It's never too late. Give something new a try. I mean, if I can do it, anybody can. I was determined to at least binge drink and smoke cigarettes for the rest of my life, and I don't do any of that anymore. So there you go. I hope everyone out there is doing well. I'm back next week with a new episode and a new guest, and I'll see you then.